Okay, good evening, everybody. I am waiting for my guest. Might be a few minutes. So, uh, everybody, feel free to check in, say hi, and all that, and we'll be getting started here shortly. Been an exciting day. So, okay, I'm not sure what's causing the cutting in and out, but part of it is going to be I'm in another hotel, and it's the old Wi-Fi thing. But we should do better here than we did last night, so we'll see how it goes. Hi, Paula. Welcome. And hello, groupie, murder groupies. Nice of you to come in. And welcome, Don. Nice to have you in here. Oh, my guest is calling. Hold on. Kim, make a post so I know where you're at, because I don't see your name on here. Say hi or something. Okay. Kim is going to be our guest again. I'm just waiting for her to pop in here. Hmm. Mhm. Excuse me, I'm chewing gum. There we go. Um, Um, okay, Kim, I'm gonna have to put it in the general comments section. I can't get a thing for you to. And okay, there's the link. You can just click on that. And she's coming in.
I'm here.
Okay, there we be. There's Kim in the pink.
Can everyone
And
hear?
I'm just, you're growing. Trying to anyway.
Can everyone hear me? Everyone?
Okay, there you be.
Hi, honey
And
bear.
hi, honey. Okay. Now I'm going to start. I'm going to have to muddle through this. And I'm as good as Kim,
Sure you are.
but she'll still be able to give me some nuances. Well, to start. Okay, let me get what
Hi,
happened here.
Paula. Just to let everyone
Oh, there
know,
you are.
clearly I was not at the trial today. I'm at home. So Mert went to the trial and he was taking notes. So I was not there. So I'm going to be, although I spoke with Mert several times today and I got updated as to all of the shenanigans and the happenings of Neely, Petrie, Blanchard today, we're going to have to rely on Mert and I'll just be here for comments and to joke around and to give my opinion of things. So, and if you have any legal questions, of course, I'll try to answer them. Although nothing is legal advice, it's all my opinion. Mart, you can't like fall out on us tonight with the, oh shit. Is he gone? You guys, I think he's gone. Can you guys still hear me? Someone say yes. Anyone? Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Thank God. You're back. I'm like, I didn't attend the trial, so I just know what you told me.
Yeah, I have problems with.
Okay, Mert is definitely having problems. So I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to call him. And if worse comes to worse, I'm sure read one of the newspaper articles from what happened today. And if not, I can go through what at least he told me and we can all have our own opinions. So I'm going to call him real quick because we can't really have a great show without knowing exactly what went on in court today, unless Dawn was there. Dawn, were you there? And I'm going to call Mert.
See, it comes on and it goes back off again. You're on there on the phone.
All right, well, just try. Try. That looks good. Sounds good. Okay.
Because I've got.
Okay. No, I think you're just kind of spotty. Um, what I can do is I can just put you on speakerphone and you can talk and your picture can be there. How's that? I wasn't in a trial today. Okay. All right. I'm going to put you on speaker. Okay, we're going to improvise here, everybody. Okay, Mert, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, can everybody hear Mert?
Okay.
Now we got reverberation.
Yeah, we're getting that. Oh,
Okay. Mert, you there? All right, we might just have to have Mert call in and not be on the screen. So that's what we're probably going to do because I'd really like everyone to hear his input.
yeah, hold on a minute. Let's see.
We'll get this, guys. Don't worry. Stand by. Okay, so he's going to mute his mic there, and I'm going to have him on speaker. You got to mute. We got.
Can you try to?
No, that's not going to work. Okay, that won't work, guys, because I'm got the sound on here, and it's
Okay, we're gonna try this
He's going to
again.
try. All right, let's just go for it, and I'll fill in the gaps when you go out. So, what happened today in court, Mert, today?
Okay. Okay. Very first thing that happened in court is Neely complained that she doesn't have any underwear on. And the reason for that is because she was put on suicide watch.
TMI.
And when you're put on suicide,
Sorry, TMI, but go ahead. Oh, now I screamed him right off the air. Keep going, Mert. Oh, shit, there it goes.
uh,
All right, so I'm going to continue on until he gets back. It's my understanding that it's my understanding that Neely complained because when she came in, because she did not have underwear on or a bra. As we all discussed last night, Neely was put on suicide watch. So it's Mert said that when she was complaining about that, there was nothing anybody could do because clearly you can't have someone on suicide watch with underwear or a bra that, of course, could be used to hang themselves. Even though I can tell you what, if I'm going to commit suicide, the last thing I'm going to do is commit suicide with underwear because that's just freaking humiliating. All right. A lot of other things you can do, but she was not able to be provided a bra, a brassiere, or underwear because that would, of course, be standard protocol. So that is my understanding of what happened and how we started the day. And if he comes, Mark, can you hear us? Okay. Then next, what I understand, and I'm not going from notes, just kind of memory. Next, what I understand is that Neely, I believe that the state had rested. So then it was time for Neely to put on her case in chief. And so here we go with Neely not having, or does she?
Uh, what I'm doing is I'm texting, you're back. Yeah, but I can hear.
If anyone can hear, oh, there. Hello. All right, I'm back. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
could hear you. It's just that I knocked you off.
Take it away, Mert.
Okay, as long as people can hear me. After the underwear bit, Neely once again complained that she wanted a lawyer, and the judge had to explain to her once again, you had plenty of time to uh, get yourself a lawyer. You declined repeatedly, and we are at a critical point in the trial, so you're not going to be able to get a lawyer at this time. Now, the prosecution finishing up their uh, their argument, they called uh, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement supervisor of the firearm test division, or whatever they call it, and this is Christopher Reichel, and he does the lab setup, fireworks testing. He's done over 1,000 examinations of a firearm, and he tests the condition of the firearm, checks to see if they're operational, and he also checks to see if there is uh, uh,
So basically, the guy was a ballistics expert. That's what I was hearing.
I'll
Here he comes
uh,
back. Hang on. This is going to be so fun tonight, guys. So I think the ballistics expert testified, and he was testifying as. Oh, here he
okay.
comes back. Go ahead. Oh, there he goes again. Wait 1 minute. John just made a
A
comment. Residue to prove recent
some
firing. I'm sure. I'm sure. I'd like to hear from Mert, but you're probably exactly right. Go ahead, Mert. I think he's got spotty reception. He's at one of those hotels. Um, anyway, it's my understanding. It's my understanding that the ballistics expert did testify, and I think there were actually one or two, and they had stated that just confirmed that it was a 9 millimeter Luger was the weapon that was found in Neely's glove compartment of her car pursuant to a valid search warrant. They also, I'm sure, did analysis of the shell casings that were found. I don't know, but it would be normal to check them for trace, especially the unspent rounds, the live rounds that were found on the floor. If I recall, when I was sitting in the trial, I believe there were 3 or 4 live rounds on the floor that were not, spent casings. There were several spent casings, of course. I think 5 spent casings. The guy went into how revolvers versus pistols. With revolvers, when you fire that, it does not eject a shell casing of the bullet. Instead, those remain in the revolver. Whereas in a pistol, I'm sure you've seen people firing on the movies and the stuff is coming out. Those are the shell casings. Those were shell casings were the ones that were hitting poor Liliana on the feet as she was walking out of her bedroom to investigate what she thought was a piece of wood falling. It was so loud. And only to find Neely sitting there with the gun pointed at Chris Hallett after shooting him at least once, Chris Hallett falling down, and then Neely turning the gun on her after shooting Chris again. So, with regard to this ballistics expert, it's my understanding that he did have some cool testimony, other than, the normal explaining what a gun is and what a shell casing is. But he did have some cool testimony about why he believed the gun that Neely had jammed. So, as you recall, the testimony in prior days, and I don't have my notes here, but I'm going off memory. The testimony was that Neely had shot Chris once, and that brought Liliana, the child, running out, and Shannon from the bedrooms. And the child saw Neely shoot Chris again. Then Neely turned the gun on Shannon and Liliana, and the gun jammed. So they weren't shot. And then the testimony was by Liliana, the eyewitness child at the time. She was 20 when she was testifying. That's why I'm using her name. So the child testified that after she turned around and pointed the gun at her and her mom, then the gun had jammed. And so that Neely was trying to get the gun unjammed. And she said she was like fooling with the gun, or trying to cock it back. She was even pointing it at the ground, cocking it several times. Well, that would explain those live rounds on the floor, that there were shell casings for when Neely actually shot Chris. But then when she was trying to maybe clear out the chamber, I'm not a firearms expert, so if I'm using incorrect jargon, please let me know. But as she was trying to clear out the chamber, maybe to unjam the gun, that's when those live rounds were coming out. And that's exactly what the guy testified to. He believed that one of the live rounds had gone in there incorrectly. So she had to clear out, those rounds or that chamber or something like that, until then she could get it to fire. And eventually we know that she did get the gun unjammed, unfortunately. And Liliana and Shannon took back off into the bedroom, were not shot and were not hurt. And Chris, unfortunately, the ballistics expert testified today that the remaining bullets in the clip, so this is one of those 9mm guns that you'd, put the clip in and then have to cock it back in order to shoot, that with the remaining rounds that were in the clip, that Neely had unloaded the rest of the clip on Chris Hallett, that there were no more bullets left in the clip. So he believes it was a 15, I think there were 15 bullets in that clip. Maybe she didn't load them all in there, but because we know that she shot him 7 times, and there were, I believe, 4 unspent shells on, or I guess that's what you call it, unspent live rounds on the ground. 1 minute, it's Mert calling me. Okay, we're going to try the speakerphone again. All right, Mert, hit it.
All right, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, we're doing it. Okay, can everyone hear Mert? Let's turn it up. And John, it looks like you have a lot of information and knowledge about guns, so I'm hoping you could provide. You can get a 10, 13, and 15 round magazine. Mert,
Okay.
what I had told them so far was kind of what you had told me today, that this was the ballistic expert. He did go into the difference between a pistol and a revolver. He did go into the fact that this was a Luger 9mm, and I think you said from the Czech Republic.
Yeah, Luger's made in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, and then I think the coolest thing that you had told me was about how he had explained why he thought the gun had jammed. So if you don't mind repeating that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Apparently, if a bullet doesn't eject properly, like she shot a bullet or shot a round, and the casing didn't fully eject, and the way you handle that is you have to eject the gun, eject the thing by bringing the I don't know what they call the part where you bring back, and it'll eject the bullet that's causing the problem, and then they also eject a live round until the gun is jammed. And then once, she did that, John. She fired the gun again and it jammed. He didn't mention anything about taking the magazine out. That's probably what she should have done. But anyway, she fixed the gun and then she continued to shoot at Chris. She got closer to him and finished him off, basically.
And I think you told me that she had unloaded the rest of the bullets in the clip into Chris Hallett. Is that correct?
Yeah. Whatever was left in the magazine, when they recovered the magazine, it was empty. And there was no gun and no rounds in the chamber. I wanted to just take a time out 1 second. We do have Ronald Knowles in the house. Welcome, Ronnie Knowles. I think he's got a complaint. He's saying that, Ronnie, I'm going to read your comment. He said, she's calling now. Laughed my ass off. I've got nothing to say, but I need my motherfucking money back, or this is going to be ugly. One big ass con job when Robert's parents bought him a new car. ... And Ronnie, I'd love for you to let us know what you meant about Robert. What's the status, if you know, of Neely and her husband, Robert? He has not been in the trial, I don't believe. Do you happen to know if he's going to be at the trial at any day to support his wife? Or what is the status of their relationship? And Ronnie had said, first it was 1 shot, then jam, then 3 shots, now 7. We know that he was shot 7 total times. There were 7 bullet holes. So, but Ronnie, we're interested in, okay, so Ronnie's now answering my question. He said he's drug up like the rest of them. That's a shame. And so he's not, is he still have a relationship with Neely? Do you know? No answer so far on that. Yeah. TN Lights says that a little birdie told him that Neely's husband was already living with another girl. That would be a shame to hear that. Wow. Hi, Pete. He's probably not going to. And now Ronnie's saying, I have no clue. She had an IT guy hacking my phone. Well, that's not good, Ronnie. Ronnie, do you have any other comments or inside knowledge that you wanted to share with us? Because we know that you had a close relationship with Neely for quite a long time. What's your relationship with her now? If you don't mind me asking, if you don't mind sharing. I'm sorry if I'm being personal, but just curious. You're here, so I might as well ask. You don't have to answer. Waiting for his comment back. Okay, well, we'll just yeah, this is all one big shit show. I agree, Ronnie Knowles. I agree. And I'm sorry if she hurt you in any way. I don't know if that actually happened, but I know that you were close with her at one time. And I think you did provide some funds to her for... Yeah, that's what the $3,000 is about. Yeah, how much was it? People provided funds for her in the beginning to get a lawyer. Okay. And it was never paid back, from what I understand. Yeah. But you can correct me on that if you want. Yeah. But, let me see. And, now, another Eubanks conducts extraction of evidence from the cell phone. Extracted data from iPhone, message, text, call, logs, photographs, and so forth. Auto translator for non-English info was in phone, and that goes through a translator as well. There was also an LG phone and same kind of extract. Ran into issues, took a long time to extract. Apparently, there were a lot of text messages on the phone. Let's see, then the phone came back to a 352. That was more than likely a burner phone. Here in Texas in 2010 to 2021. The phone wasn't examined until February on account. And there was also a Samsung phone similar to my model, and Neely cross-examining the expert, Reichel, about his qualifications, address of the FDLE in Jacksonville. He had asked how long had he lived in Jacksonville and was projected and sustained. Then he was examined the gun in the box, that turned directly to the jury every time he answered the question or made an explanation. Told the jury that the gun was a Luger semi-automatic. This is where he got into the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic. He also explained there's also automatic weapons. He explained how they work. That with an automatic, it can just keep firing. With a semi-automatic, you have to keep cocking the gun. With a revolver, it's almost the same thing where you make a shot with a revolver, the barrel rotates and then gives you a fresh cartridge where you shoot that. And the casings in a semi-automatic are ejected. The revolver, the casings remain in the gun. So she did not have a revolver because there would be no casings or cartridges on the ground. So she explained that. He explained he had the spent cartridges, which were the ones that the spent cartridges. He talked. Both technicians talked about how the hammer marks go up, and they will check the spent bullets and cartridges against spent bullets and cartridges from the FDLE test gun to make the comparisons. He explained how rifling and styrations work on the firearms, and he explained all the nuances. And in Neely's cross, basically, she didn't do much in that way. She just wanted to know who got the gun, who delivered the gun, how things are handled at FDLE as far as chain of custody. Old technician said any evidence is put into a locker, and anytime someone wants the gun, they have to sign it in and out. Very tight process for maintaining chain of command on the gun. And he tried to ask the female technician who had come on the address of FDLE, and counsel state objected, said asked and answered, so that killed her on that. And so it was a relatively short exam, and she look, now let me see. Now see who the next witness was.
If we could just stop right there. I think there's some comments I think are deserving of speaking about. Ronnie Knowles had said earlier in the comments, something about where's the death certificate? And I know that I believe it was Neely that had brought that up as well about the death certificate. And I think that she was questioning the medical examiner about she believed there was no death certificate. I don't know if she was trying to make the insinuation that Chris was somehow not dead or that this was, again, deep state, that it was withholding the official paperwork or something. But she did also talk about where's the death certificate. The medical examiner clearly said in her testimony that a lot of times they have to wait for toxicology and all of these things to come back for many um, homicides or deaths. But if they know if they're pretty sure and it's very obvious what the manner and cause of death was, that they could go ahead and enter or issue a death certificate. She said this was one of those cases that they had immediately entered the death certificate. And then Dawn Bowers, who is Chris Hallett's first wife, who was very close with Chris Hallett until the day he died. They also had a child together, Chris's adult son, Matthew. Dawn, who would be, practically next of kin because she was so close with Chris Hallett and knew nearly everything about his life. She said they do have the death certificates, that she has them. So the family does have the death certificates. So Neely was wrong about her conspiracy theory about there not being death certificates. Just saying. Next, John, who seems to know in the comments, who seems to know really a lot about guns. So I keep on reading his comments that are interesting. He commented that a Luger is a weird gun for her to own. And that made me remember the testimony of Detective Lytle, who stated that they had run the gun registry, the serial number, through their database, and that they knew that the gun had been purchased by Robert, her husband. So in Florida, it's not required to register a gun like in other states such as New York or I don't know other states would require that. But they do not require registration of any guns here in Florida. You may buy a gun. You can choose to register it if you'd like to, but you do not have to. Most people do not. Why would you? I don't even know if you would know how to go about that. Maybe you could ask a gun store owner, but it's absolutely not required. So it's more about who purchased the gun than who the gun was registered to, because it likely is not registered to anyone in Florida. So they did confirm that that gun was purchased by Robert, Neely's husband. So, and John says ex-military, Kim. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know, and thank you for your service as well. All right, sorry about that, Mark, and let's go and continue.
Okay, let me get back on track here. That's interesting. I was under the impression that was the husband's gun, but
it was the husband's gun, or at least he purchased it.
Yeah, and well, I didn't know he purchased it because I thought the gun was military issue since he's in the Coast Guard.
Yeah, it was not. And the detective testified to that when I was there.
I missed that.
It's okay.
Let me see where I'm at here. Because I'm reading through the rest of the. Because he was explaining, he explained the difference between a Glock and a Ruger. And he said, pull to the rear to eject cartridge, and the jams to it, turn the jam as well. Well, we've already gone through that. And they examine all the ammunition under a comparison microscope. And Neely and Cross asked for experience of both parties and how the chain of command works. And he asked if the senior FDLE knew about the arrest, and he said sometimes they'll might mention something, but he did not. The female has testified over 100 times regarding ammunition, and that the submission of evidence to the FDLE is up to the investigating agency. There's no demand to get it to them immediately. The agency gets it there under their own volition. Prosecution redirects. Neely objects, told one word only by the judge, and it was denied. Megan Hansen was the other fire expert. We've already gone through what she said. Shown gun in box, ID gun, examined, test fired. So they did not display the gun for the audience or Neely or anything like that. They just kept it inside the box, and they were done with it. I was turned over to the clerk.
Ronnie Knowles has an interesting comment. He's answering to Honey Bear, and Honey Bear had asked him, "What's the deal with?" And she put in quotes. I guess she was quoting him. Chris worked a deal with Billy Woods, and Ronald Knowles then said as follows: Hunter Bear, Billy Woods is the sheriff over the jail. She wasn't in the jail the whole time. Fact. Too many people have spotted her in Canada. It's in TikTok, and that's why she shit herself. So maybe there's a rumor that she's in Canada, but I don't know if that's true. Maybe he's just joking.
Yeah.
All right. So continue on. And I do remember that they had the gun in like a white box, and someone, a crime technician, had unsealed, the box that it was in. It had her initials on it, and how they have to unseal things. So for a chain of custody, clearly for the evidence. And they had done that on one of the days that I was there. But yes, I remember they didn't actually take out the gun or show the jury. So that's interesting. Okay. What's next, Mert?
Okay. Susan Blanchard was next, and
that is that Neely's mother?
yeah, I believe that's the mother. The woman waiting to testify is the grandmother.
Okay, so Neely's mother was called by Neely, correct? That was her witness.
That was Neely that called the mother. It was her witness.
Okay.
And
tell us what happened.
It was a huge mistake for her to call her.
Oh,
because,
boy.
Sue smiles at the jury. She's Stocky was wearing a plaid, black and white dress. She started tearing up and stuff. Neely tried to give her a tissue, and the judge waved her back, and one of the bailiffs lunged at her and told her to get back.
Good. Only because you should not have inmates approaching the judge or up, anywhere near the court staff or a witness. You just, you never know. But go ahead.
Okay, and they started talking about the issue with the 12-year-old in the final order that they've been debating for a long time. And the Sue got into kind of a narrative and stuff, and the judge had to keep stopping her and tell her not to get into a narrative, just stick to short yes, no, and one sentence answers to the questions.
Now, I have a question, Mert. Were Susan Blanchard's narratives positive for Neely, or did they seemingly go against Neely? Could you tell?
Both ways.
Both ways. Okay. All right.
Because as time went on, you'll understand. There was a DNR there, and again, judge says short answers only. Witnesses needs to pause briefly because he's not given a chance to have the state issue a objection. She just, the second Neely answers a question, she answers, and it's not given there's no pause at all, and the judge told her to pause, and so did the female attorney.
Interesting. And so, what was the substance of her testimony, the mother?
Okay, I'm working down through because there kept being a lot. She started asking questions, there was objection, and she paused, and this went on for quite a while. Especially, she was asking Susan about QAnon, and the judge admonished her, Neely, you're not supposed to be talking about this stuff. Not supposed to be talking about Trump, not supposed to be talking about politics at any kind, about, corrupt government and all this stuff. None of this conspiracy theory was supposed to be coming true.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all beyond the scope. And witness needs to, about McKinsey, discussion within scope objection. Custody order was sustained. Judge reminded not to sway from the scope of the evidence. She's supposed to talk about the evidence and why she feels he's not guilty. Confusing questions. She was beginning to mumble, having trouble getting the questions out, and when she did, most of the time they got objected and sustained because they were way out of scope. The judge was getting aggravated because he kept asking the same questions over and over again. Neely started to tear up and sniff, use handkerchiefs again. The male attorney threw his hands up in frustration because he's getting aggravated. The situation and the judge kind of gave a cold stare at him, but didn't say anything. Reading down through here. Unknown. They had issued an Amber Alert. Unknown U.S. Marshals got involved. Children were recovered and given back to the grandmother, or to the mother, I guess.
And that would be the twins, correct?
Yeah. And from Chris's house, she called her mother and told her that she had shot Chris Hallett. She wanted her to record the confession. Neely wanted to turn herself into law enforcement, but the grandmother did not have the mother did not have a tape recording device. This is one Neely apparently called other people. And prior to her finally getting a hold of her mother, she had called many, many, many times, and the mother did not answer the phone because she thought it was some kind of a hoax for Neely to get in good with the family again. She had not had good relations with her mother or with the rest of the family at that point.
And so the mother testified that, I guess, they were estranged prior to this, and that she called several times and finally answered her daughter's call, and her daughter confessed right there on the phone.
Sue criticized Neely as an unfit mother, and Neely asked a question, and it was denied scope of about where Neely located it. There was a lot of objections and scolding by the judge.
Well,
At that
Mark,
point,
can I stop you 1 second? I just want to go back. So the mother clearly testified that Neely had called her and admitted to shooting Chris Hallett and wanted her to tape record her confession, just like Kathy had done, correct?
correct.
And so that would go back to if you recall, the phone call that was heard by Liliana in the bathroom as she and her mom were hiding in the bathroom. That would corroborate that call made by Neely from the home. And
Yeah,
the
because
phone,
Neely had
right.
clearly stated she was in the house. He told Mom, I have to get out of here.
Interesting.
And the mother testified to that.
And Neely was asking questions of the mother, like, didn't I call you and confess? Why would Neely be trying to elicit incriminating testimony against herself? Or was the mother just going there?
No, she asked the question, and the mother answered it. Because she kept saying, what did you do when some words to the effect, what did you do when I told you that I had shot Chris? And this is where she said, I did not have a recording device. And so Neely said, well, I'm going to call around and see if he was looking for anyone to record her confession.
That is wild. That is so wild.
And the mother had not called 911 until the next day.
What?
And I can't remember the reason for that. I think it had to do with telephone issues.
What? There aren't any telephone issues. Even if your phone doesn't have service, you could still call 911.
I don't know.
I would have thought, you could go to a neighbor's house, go to down the street, find a payphone. I know there are sporadic ones here and there. How about going to her own police station? It was only 9 o'clock at night.
Late at night, because
it was 9 o'clock at night. It was 9:07.
Yeah, 10 o'clock at night.
9:07.
That was an older woman. I don't know, but that's what the conversation.
What you do?
Was.
Just roll over and go back to bed?
I don't know.
Hi, Mom. I just shot a man, and I'm going to get out of here. Okay, I'll talk to you in the morning. Is that what happened? Well, I don't know.
Yeah. And so, listen, Hella, and I believe she had seen Helen on video phone at one time. She didn't know that much about E-clause and annulments, and that was objected to. Every time she used the word annulments, there was an objection. As Florida Title IV, objection, judge scolded her, and at this point the judge was making the objections. Government ISS improper, judge rules, objection hearsay, same thing, a lot of out of scope or whatever how they call that thing.
Outside the scope or its relevance.
All right. Asking about DCF right to something. She was interrupted, rejected. I think it was a right to record conversations, and it was out of scope and sustained.
So we were doing the objection sustained again?
Yeah, a lot of them. The judge was doing most of it.
Nice.
It was going back and forth between the prosecution and we got hearsay, improper, impeach, tried to submit papers to state, and Amy just whipped her arm and waved her off. So don't come near me with that stuff.
Ooh.
And the judge said that cannot be entered into evidence.
Now, hang on. This was Neely's witness, not the state, right?
Yeah, this was Neely's witness. And, the state did their cross.
That's like an epic fail to call a witness who's going to talk about how you confessed to the crime. I mean, it
And,
doesn't get worse than that. And by the way, John had asked, where do I think this is going? I think that Mert's going to continue talking. And Neely eventually, is going to get on the stand. And I think everybody knows that because if you saw any of the news articles today, it showed her on the stand. So once he gets there, you'll hear what she said. So then she's kind of explaining where she wants this to land, which is psycho, and it's not a good defense. So go ahead, Mert. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to, kind of stay tuned because Neely does explain why, in her mind, she killed Hallett.
Okay, now we get to Kate. After lunch at exactly 1 o'clock, Kathy Knowles shows up, and there was a bit of a drama with that because Neely had said, I intend to call Kathy Knowles. The only problem was Kathy Knowles wasn't in the building. And, they tried calling Kathy several times. There was a woman that had been sitting with Neely's mother after she was dismissed from testifying. She came into court and sat down.
All right, so hang on. So this is Kathy Knowles, and just to catch up the audience, this is the lady who Neely called after apparently she called her mother and called Kathy Knowles and confessed to the crime. And as you know, we discussed yesterday, that was the big confession tape, the audio recording of Neely Blanchard on the phone with her friend Kathy Watson, and that was the confession tape.
Okay.
And so Kathy Knowles couldn't be found, apparently, right? What was she?
Yeah, they couldn't find her.
And I'm sorry, I said Kathy Knowles because I was reading Ronna Knowles' stuff, but it's Kathy Watson, sorry. And, but what was she like sitting in the car just going like...
Kathy Cunningham. She also goes by.
Oh, Kathy Cunningham. Yeah, I was reading comments, sorry.
I made the same mistake.
Sorry.
The judge said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to break for lunch, and we're going to come back at 9 o'clock and see if anybody can find Kathy Watson / Cunningham, and she showed up. Kathy Watson is a short, little bit stocky woman, somewhat older. I don't know her exact age. And so the judge had her come to the bench and said, you got here just as we are going to break for lunch. You are hereby sequestered. You're not to talk to anyone about the case, not talk to any of the witnesses, not talk to anybody outside. We will be calling you in right after lunch to testify. And so she vanished. The judge finished up with business because he was trying to get Neely to state who she was going to call. Neely was trying to decide if she was going to call the doctor or not. And she also was, at that time, not decided whether or not she was going to take the stand. And we all know what happened on that.
And with regard to the doctor, I'm assuming that you mean Dr. Kropp, which would be her expert witness to testify as to her mental state.
They had permission for the state doctor to sit in on the testimony observing Neely. That was part of his examination, apparently. And so, with Kathy Watson, it was the same thing, all political stuff, but Kathy did state that Neely confessed to her.
And Mert, hang on, Mert, and I'm seeing a comment. It says Candy Cane Jane has stated that Kathy Watson is really big into the anti-CPS movement online. So that's, works into what you just said, how she was going into the anti-government stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they got into how did we meet, what were you doing? And she said, well, I got into this because of the child trafficking and stuff. So that's how they got together in the first place.
Interesting.
And so she there was a question about her being an ordained minister, and she answered yes. And Neely, that there's, did you know about the law in Florida having to do with being an ordained minister?
Well, that was already too late. That was already that was with her trying to suppress the confession tape with the clergy privilege, and so it's already too late to make that. The objection has already been ruled upon. So
yeah. Well, she asked it anyway, and
irrelevant.
But the state did not object, so they let it go. Asked about the recording, doesn't remember, contact, does not, and got into a thing about nervous about giving the recordings to local law enforcement, so an arrangement was made with the United States Marshal Service to have a local marshal meet with her and take the recordings.
And that goes into the sovereign citizen beliefs. They trust U.S. marshals and sheriffs more than they would trust others, and they would trust marshals over sheriffs. And God forbid you send the city police to the PD. They're not going to deal with the PD. They don't even recognize them because they're not in the Constitution, and they believe the sheriffs are. So that's probably why they're always calling over to the U.S. Marshals. Like the U.S. Marshals is going to save them from this crime. I hope they understand their law enforcement too.
Yeah, well, I don't understand anything about those people. Immediately after Neely was done with her testimony, Kathy was done with her testimony, she immediately showed up in court and watched the proceedings from then out. Neely was asked if she's going to be taking a stand again. Neely said no.
And Mert, I wanted to go back. Can we go back real quick to the mother? Is it true that the mother had testified that Neely had gotten children taken away because of being a drug user?
Yes, this was Mackenzie, the oldest daughter. And they went into that because Florida picked up Mackenzie, and all this stuff in North Carolina is about the custodian of that child went to court to get that child. And Neely had just given birth that day of the twins, and they came and took Mackenzie away.
So when Neely was in the hospital giving birth, that's when they took the twins away?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mackenzie away.
No. That's when they took Mackenzie away.
And that was pursuant to an ex parte order because she had taken Mackenzie wrongfully, correct? She and her mother had taken Mackenzie wrongfully from another state. So there was a pickup order to pick up the Mackenzie, correct?
Yeah, and then it came out that Neely was charged with 2 counts of kidnapping and 2 counts of interfering with the custody of the minor.
Wow.
And that is still pending in the state of Kentucky.
Well, I know that she was convicted already of that once. So she has a conviction once. I believe she did it again. And that's what's...
the second time. Because the second time was with the twins.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they got 2 counts out of Mackenzie, but that's what happened.
Right. Interesting. But it's just interesting that her own mother will get up there and testify that she knows that her daughter was a drug user and unfit to have the child.
Yeah, well, that he testified on. They were pretty thorough with that, especially the prosecution on Cross. And we're going to see. And now, once Neely had made the decision to be her own attorney and get on the stand, the state got up and cautioned her. Now, remember, you've got a felony conviction, and this will come up in questioning. And the judge also said that. He said you're a big disadvantage to testify on your own behalf. Went through the whole drill, and Neely decided to go ahead with it. And she takes the stand and she gives the long name she's known for. Neely Petrie, whatever Blanchard. And, she got into a thing about the fact that law enforcement uses the shortest name of Neely Petrie Blanchard name. She says he has a longer name than that, and explain why Neely Petrie is something, and Neely Petrie Blanchard or something else, and it got all confusing. And she started talking to the jury direct. She turned around and was looking straight at them. And 2010, she lost her daughter, corrupt CPS, objection, not relevant. I'll focus on case. How she met Chris Hallett. If she had not met Chris Hallett, she would not be here with everybody, which means that, she wouldn't have been forced to kill him, apparently. She considered Hallett a father, that his spirit is with her. Okay, your picture died. I don't know what happened here. Is my audio still on?
Yeah, you're here. I can hear you. You're good.
Okay. Oh, there you are. Let me get rid of Ronald.
But hang on one second. Sam just said, made a great comment. Lost her kids because of her own poor choices and didn't take accountability, which led to her killing someone, and doesn't want to take accountability of that either. Such a shame it came to this. I mean, that kind of sums up this entire family situation here. And also, I noticed that Dawn Bowers, and again, if everyone sees Dawn Bowers, hi Dawn, in the chat, Dawn Bowers is the first wife of Chris Hallett. She knows, a lot about this family, and she said that she lost Mackenzie. She had the twins 8 to 10 days before, she believes. So she lost Mackenzie after she had the twins, is what Dawn Bowers is saying. And quite frankly, I would believe Dawn Bowers over Susan Blanchard or Neely any day. Probably got a better memory also.
Okay, and what had happened, Neely said that, he actually got into a pickup truck and drove up to the Carolinas to try and get her kids up there. Right after giving birth with a C-section, and it's doing it in great detail about, all of that she really wasn't familiar with trucks, and yet she got on a pickup truck and drove all the way up there to get her kid, the ones that are in Carolina custody. And that's where this final judgment originated from that was discussed earlier. Let's see here. And now, after lunch, I had switched over to the other side of the court where I was directly behind Neely because I had to get my phone on the charger, and not where I was at before. All the court staff were using the charger plugs. I only have 2 plugs. So that was the only place I could go to charge my phone. And I was 3 rows behind the bar and was directly facing Neely's desk. And on her desk, it looks like any office desk, she had her pictures of her children spread out the length of the work area of the desk.
Wow.
And when she went up on the stand, all those pictures were gone. And what she tried to do is she was on the stand, she started talking about her daughters, and she was about to pick up the pictures to show to the jury, and the judge said, no, you're not to do that. That you didn't submit them as evidence and all that, so it's too late, you can't do it. So she puts it down, she said, well, since the judge won't let me show you my children, and she went on with the narrative. Once again said that Alec was a father to her. He's a figure. Her father had died, and
all right, hang on. I misquoted Dawn. She's clarifying. No, she lost Mackenzie before the twins were born, 8 to 10 days before they were born. Thank you, Dawn, for the correction.
Oh, okay. Well, Neely's the one that made the mistake. Then.
And she is not the mother of Mackenzie. Dawn is the mother of Matthew, and Dawn was the first wife of Chris Hallett.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on here with Chris. So anyway, she was not allowed to show the pictures that she had removed from the display. She talked about the laws in Florida. She kept getting objected. Chris had also lost his kids due to a corrupt government, and he was in a lot of pain because of that. And that is what made him start E-Claws. Both were desperate, could not get, Chris had been desperate, couldn't get help, and so he started E-Claws to help others in the same situation. Lost custody of twins due to Florida's revolving preventive child something or other animated, and
It's never her fault. It's always
never her fault.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she is breaking down.
Like the government just goes and takes people's children. My children are never taken away from me. No one ever. I mean,
Yeah.
People's children are taken away usually clearly because someone is neglecting them or abusing them, or and also some people are. I'm not going to fault Neely for, and I think that I kind of did last night when I said she dropped the twins off at her mom when they were 9 months. That's a lot of times the best thing to do. If you're young, you can't take care of the children right now. There's nothing wrong with having your mom help you raise a child or a family member. But, it's another thing if you want to just go out and, be drugging and drinking and sex, drugs, rock and roll. And that's why you're, kind of just shoving the children off on your mom. And I think that is more of what we saw or heard that Neely was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's never her fault. She lost Mackenzie because of corruption and deep state and child trafficking, and now she's gonna say she's lost the twins because of that. She killed Hallett because of that. So it is never Neely's fault. She can't take responsibility or accountability. She's just one of those people.
One thing she did mention in the course of her testimony is the reason she kept getting married is she wanted to be a mother and have kids. So she kept getting pregnant for that specific reason. Ugh. And then he just get a divorce from the thing. And there was one point where apparently child services decided the only way you could get your children back was to get married. So she got married. And, so that explains why she had so many husbands and kept getting pregnant. And let me catch up here. Neely kept breaking down on the stand, and at one point the mother started crying and getting upset when talking about the kids.
So this is when the mother was sitting in the audience when Neely was testifying. The mother had already testified.
Yeah, the mother,
so then she came in and sat. Okay.
Came in and sat. She was right next to me.
Oh, wow.
And she was taking notes. She had a legal pad, was taking notes, had a whole bunch of files that the sister was holding.
Really? Wow. That's so interesting.
And she kept reaching down in her backpack, and the bailiff had to tell her to quit doing that because she was being disruptive. And there was a little incident that happened with her later.
I would like to stop a second and read Sam's comment. Another great comment by Sam.
Sure, go ahead.
These people scream, "Save the children!" But none of them are selfless enough to become a foster or adoptive parent for the children in need. And that is very true. They are only save the children after they've fucked up their lives so much that they've lost theirs. That's the only time they're save the children. So great comment by Sam with my commentary on the end.
Honey Bear, the reason is because the defense kept delaying the trial. the state had not, or no, Neely waived the speedy trial rule. And when he did that, that means that both the state and the defense could take almost as long as they want to build up the case. They didn't have that the speedy trial had been in place, you would have had to have the trial within 6 or 9 months. So that was the reason this trial has extended out so much.
We have to also remember that this was November of 2020 was her arrest. So we were, in the middle of COVID, and the courthouses had shut down. So I remember when the Marion County courthouse opened up and they said they were going to have trials again. And sometimes courthouses would open up, shut down. But as you can imagine, as people were getting arrested during COVID, the jails were getting fuller and fuller and fuller because there were no courts open to release them or to have trials. So although there was usually first appearance hearings where you would, determine whether or not you could get out on bail or bond after your arrest, or if you had to wait until you got assigned your real judge and would then have to plea for a bond in front of your real judge. So if you can imagine, with all of the people getting consistently arrested every single day in any given county of the world, and courthouses are closed, those jails are just filling up. And the backlog in every county in Florida, and I'm sure in other states, was just incredible, to the point where I know that in Broward in Dade County, they were releasing every inmate that was waiting for trial that was a third-degree felony or under. And so if you think about it, the jails were just filled and packed with only, the worst of the worst: murderers, rapists, pedophiles, because of course we couldn't let those people out. They would pose a danger to the community. But that could have also been clearly one of the delays of the trial, because once the courthouses opened up, the Supreme Court of Florida was trying to give the courts some type of an order as to what trials should go first, second, and third. So civil trials in family, we were consistently going on Zoom the whole time. We never shut down. So we were the only division in the courthouse, besides domestic violence, which I also practice, that was consistently running. The trials in every other division were closed. And so I'm sure that the first degree murders, those cases were taking along. They probably wanted to get some of the second degree felonies out of the way, because the first degree murder people were going to be held without bond anyway. So they weren't hot to trot to get out. So that's just an aside on why this could have also taken so long. The backlog was just incredible.
Yeah, and there was a lot of defense requesting continuances for one reason or another. If you look at the docket and the schedule of what the events were from the time things started.
Hang on, Mert. I'd like to announce that Monograph Live is here in your chat room.
Hi, Monty.
Hello, Monty.
Monty. And okay. We have another celebrity in the house.
We do. He's the celebrity.
Okay. The labels are evidence markers that are put there by the investigators. The yellow markers with the numbers down. And the technicians explained they put those down in order to show where the bullet or cartridge or, the bullet that hasn't been fired, the location of all of that. And you'll always see those little number tags down. Sometimes they'll put down a little bit of a ruler so that they're showing the size of the object that's being photographed by the crime scene technician. It's just all part of the job that they do. That's the procedure they follow. Now, let's see, we're getting down. Could not get the quiz because of Florida's revolving something or other. Animated gestures about rights and she broke down crying again. Talks about the law and rights and stuff, and they kept object. The prosecution kept objecting every time she brought that stuff up, that she had to get married because the other guy was drunk and it was the only way she could get her child back. And she had problems. She had problems with everyone she married. She had constant problems with law enforcement. Let's see.
She didn't shoot any of them.
Yeah. Neely mentioned the Women's Protection Act and the prosecution objected out of scope. She was arrested because of her travel up there to Carolina. Her bond was revoked, and so she wound up in jail. She was arrested in Florida by corrupt government, and that was objected to.
Again, everybody's corrupt. She does nothing wrong. She kidnaps her children. She commits murder, but it's corruption's fault.
Another case number, rights were terminated while she was in jail by order of North Carolina attorney. Everybody, Neely and mother started crying about the termination of rights, never going to see kids again. No criminal record at that point. Did not take to trial. Sue B was upset at that point, talking about school incidents she accused my daughter. There were 2 incidents apparently having to do with the school. Went home from Florida to get her kids, 2012. Objection.
Mert, what do you think her point was of taking the stand? Was it to educate the jury about her family a situation, or to try to convince them that the government was corrupt, or was it about defense of this murder case? Because sometimes I think defendants get lost in their defense, is what we call it, and sometimes it becomes more about excuses, and then their entire backdrop of their entire life and corruption of the government and what they saw on the news and how they feel about this or that, rather than trying to hone in as to what would be a valid legal defense to this crime. So what do you think she was trying to get at?
Her main mission, and she kept saying it, was to get the information out to the public. She was trying to use a good. It said, you need to know, to the jury.
And need to know what? About the corruption and the child trafficking?
Corruption and abuse by DCF. But she said, when you were questioned during jury selection, I know you all have families and blah, blah, blah. And this is where she kept getting reprimanded by the judge and objected to by the state because she wouldn't shut up about this stuff. And she had been told time and time again to knock it off.
I mean, you would think that she wouldn't be taking that one opportunity of her on the stand in her own murder trial, the limited opportunity that she had to try to convince the jury that she shouldn't be convicted. And instead, she was going to try to convince them that the government was corrupt, and she couldn't even get that out. And when I was sitting in that trial, I could tell you that the judge was on it. The judge was not going to allow her to go on and on about these cockamamie conspiracy theories. She was objected to every time, and many a times she would start on a sentence, the judge would hear it coming, and the judge would immediately shut it down. So after all of her efforts to get out the word and all of this horseshit, clearly she lost the opportunity. She's on the stand. You've got one shot to be on the stand at your murder trial. And that's what she did with it. She threw it in the trash can. It blows my mind. But continue.
Okay, let me get back on. She had learned about QAnon through Facebook and various websites discussing child trafficking, CPS overreach, so on and so forth. So she got deeply embedded into QAnon, and it was Kirk Pendergrass that took up conversation with her, and that is how she met Chris Hallett, was through Kirk Pendergrass, because Kirk had told her that him and Pendergrass were working together to address this problem with the deep state and the abuses, so-called abuses by government officials and by child agencies. And the root in all this was Chris Hallett's problems that he had with the state of Florida and the state of Ohio having to do with his children. And Chris was like my dad, hearsay, laws, studies laws, hearsay, Title IV, hearsay.
Oh, we got a bingo card. We got Title IV. We've got corruption. We're going to play sovereign citizen bingo.
And there was a lie act, whatever the hell that is. And that was objected. You know, talking about what's going on, she knew she was not going to win. Chris Hallett, he had designed computer app, the Hallett expert in courts, computers, and so on, was using antivirus to fight something had to do with his places being hacked or something. Hacked by spy, based out of Utah, Texas. He was in Texas. He was going to use her case to fight against weaponizing a weaponized family court objection. Ballot following constitutional annals, Black's Law of America.
Oh, wow. We have a sovereign citizen bingo card going. We do.
Yeah. Objected to by judge. There was a comment Neely made about her father being related to one of the signers of the Constitution.
Oh, God. Now I've heard it all. Keep going.
One was rejected.
All of these sovereign citizens, by the way, like every other one, will believe that their family, and that they are direct descendants by one of the framers of the Constitution. Every freaking one of them. They all believe that they're just way too important. Go ahead.
Crying, worrying of sovereign citizen shirt is happening to other people, crying, slurred speech, hard to understand what she says.
Oh, really?
And on top of that, the judge kept scolding her to stay on case, and she defiantly said that this work is important, and the judge again said, you have to follow the rules, we can't talk about this stuff.
So she didn't get out anything that she wanted to get out. All of this getting out the word, and she couldn't even do that. That wasn't the venue to do it.
Brought up Trump again while crying. The judge said, quit bringing this stuff up. Tried to protect incoherent. Now she doesn't know. Judge objected. Jail, sentence in jail for murder. Had problems with clothing and stuff. Judge scolded. Judge called break, and the jury left the room. And the judge said as follows: if you do not focus on the evidence in this case, I will stop you. No jail, no clothes, need to tell why you are not guilty. Stop talking about outside of case. You are charged with first-degree murder. All right, we went
Go,
back
Judge.
to...
You tell her.
She was... The judge was angry.
Oh, I bet. Because it's making a mockery of the court system. And the judge isn't used to, someone disrespecting authority like that. It's just, if you're going to disrespect authority like that, what else are you going to do? This is your first-degree murder trial. Missed opportunities.
Here we go with the French flags. Oh, boy. You folks need to read up on why we have French flags. You and I has that completely wrong.
Fringed flags.
Told everybody what happened.
All right, hang on. If you've got flags with gold fringe on your sovereign citizen bingo card, go ahead and cover that up, boy. All right, go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, let's. She was rambling again, told everybody what happened with E-Clause. Apparently, E-Clause was completing its project and was over. She was on base in Pensacola when she learned this. Rambling had been working with Chris, transferred to Florida from Washington. This is why, they had been in Seattle and they had transferred because of the Coast Guard. 2020, objection, tried to get back on that. It was objected to on the scope. Florida judge, E-Clause objected. Build up.
I've got a question from Fireman John. He said, Kim Picasio, would you have defended her if she asked? And actually, a day or two after the murder, her family was contacting me for representation, and I declined. I don't know how they got my name, but someone was asking if I would call them back. I don't know if I did talk to one of them. I don't remember. I don't think so. But I was, first of all, I just thought that would be a messy representation. Would I represent a murderer? Yes, I believe that everybody has the right to legal representation, due process. Would I represent that murderer? No. Not on her life. Hope she goes to jail for the rest of her life. So sorry about that. Go ahead.
All right. Neely was saying that E-Clause was a psyop and wanted to use her information with Chris. Use Neely, come to Ocala.
And John and Lori Kennedy, I'm dying laughing at the Russell : stop. Russell Gold, who is the postmaster of the world.
Yeah, that guy is a trip. Was a trip.
Where he needed somebody to just lick a postage stamp. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Boy, I like his chair.
And then everybody was in dry dock.
Yeah. And here he is working for a container company. And he was at a shipping yard, I think in Washington or wherever he was.
Have you seen his psychedelic videos of him younger when he was in this robe outfit in the desert, all psychedelic out? I think it was before he started calling himself the postmaster of the world. Oh my God. Postmaster of the world!
Okay, now, I think we're going to be getting into...
Fireman John. I called him about my mail. Hilarious. If you know who Russell Gold is and you've followed the sovereign citizen movement, he's quite a character. He's very respected by a lot of them in the sect with the dry dock talk, the Admiralty Law dry dock talk.
Okay. now we get started on, she had been called down to Florida. She had stayed at the house. She first stayed in the hotel, which is at the intersection of I-75 and College Road, Route 200, in the southern part of Ocala, and about 4 miles from Hallett's house. She then went and stayed with Chris Hallett in order to work on this paperwork having to do with the Carolina case. When she first arrived, she saw Chris Hallett and Shannon come out of the room, out of the master bedroom together, and she expressed her shock at that. The daughter was always alone in the adjacent bathroom or bedroom.
Daughter was a teenager. My teenagers stayed in their rooms too. That's all they wanted to do. You'd have to literally try to bribe them out of their rooms to bring them to the dinner table. That's what teenagers do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she was jealous of. I think she was definitely jealous of Shannon. That's what I think.
Exactly. There was objection to speculation of motive because she started to talk about Shannon. Shannon stayed at hotel, now crying again.
Was Shannon in the audience listening?
Yeah, she was there the whole time. She was there. I think she showed up right after Alex's ex-wife testified. I'm not sure, but all of a sudden, I turned around and there she was.
I can't imagine how Shannon must have been feeling to see this person who almost shot her and killed her boyfriend. I mean,
she didn't show much expression. She was very calm. She sat there. She watched the whole thing. She would go out in the hall on breaks and talk to Dawn. And
she talked to Dawn. So Dawn was talking with Shannon, so they know each other. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, they were all talking together.
Okay. And interestingly enough, I had mentioned the other night that when Neely was cross-examining Dawn Bowers on the stand, I noticed that she was absolutely jealous of her place in Chris's life. She was almost, trying to one-up Dawn, saying, well, almost these questions that would insinuate, well, you did, he felt more about me than you type of thing, type of questions, a very territorial attitude over Chris. So I can imagine that the first scene when she walks into Chris's house is to see, Shannon coming out of his bedroom. Also, Shannon was known to be, one of the sovereign citizen instructors. I remember a video close to when, before Chris died, that he had her on his show, Shannon, and she had helped figure out some problem that he had, or algorithm that he had been trying to figure out for his entire sovereign citizen career, and that Shannon had helped him figure it out. And he was going all through it. Those charts that he would made, it looked like a serial killer. Was ransom note, right? Those charts that he made. But Chris had a lot of respect for Shannon, and that had to have irked Neely. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, it's. I'm trying to find my place here.
I see you, Dawn.
She cried, says, I know he is with me in spirit. Spent 2 nights, did not stay in the house, never been back, got too late, too close. I was tired and paranoid, had husband's gun, stopping to see child, any text from Shannon's stayed at house. Shannon and Chris came from bedroom. Just to recall, she was there before. Kirk and Shannon had sex. Kirk had show, objection, sustained, out of scope. She did not like Neely, objection. Shannon, jealous, objection. Back to hotel overnight, lack of sleep. She was texting frequently. she had Chris's laptop, and there was a weird sound coming from it, like a clock sound. Hit her laptop. Neely could not sleep. Shannon, went back to the house. Shannon was in bedroom. Objection to her talking about Shannon.
I'm going to stop you there. Dawn wanted to clarify that she had just met Shannon. She had not known her, and
Yeah.
today she said was the first time she had really spoken with her. And her exact comment was, "I never met Shannon until Thursday following this incident, and I have not spoke to her until today since." Okay, so she had probably spoken to her then, and now everyone's reconvening for the trial. Thank you, Dawn, for that clarification. And Dawn, by the way, if you could give us your thoughts about Shannon, just curious. What was she like? What did you know of her and Chris's relationship? Do you know anything else that might be of note about Shannon? Thank you, Dawn. Go ahead, Mert.
Okay. When she was back at the house, the noises were coming out of both laptops. It was a sonar sound. Shannon said, "No way." Neely freaking out. Chris was like, "What is going on?"
It's probably an error message or an alarm or.
I don't know. I would have had to hear the sounds because it does sound like error sounds and notification. Chris going to fix everything. Objection. Twice hearing things. Looks at notes. Chris was working on project at whiteboard in his office, which they took. Big binder with family crest. Objection. Notes about my case. Red October song. Not relevant. Objection. This had to do with the movie. Clues by Q. Drop. Christopher did not talk about Q. Really didn't believe in it. Objection. Constantly, Hallett working on paperwork planned on filing in Tallahassee. Shannon called piece of order. Hearing sounds again. Build up. By wall to protect herself. Paranoia. Getting confused. Neely goes to Publix to get creamer. Sometime after Winn-Dixie was near, but kept going. Black was there. Freaked out about Black Eye was going to kill her. Robert having illusions. Objection. Bad memory. Blocked. Googled Publix. Went inside to get creamer, granola bar, and cigarettes. Feeling alone and scared. Went to gas station at Little One. The car did not work. Went to Big One, and this was a racetrack. I know exactly where this is at. On the way back to the house, I missed the exit. I don't know how she managed that because you don't take Interstate 75. Got a text from Shannon, "Where are you?" Found exit, went to house. Had to fax papers. Fixed coffee. Shannon in master bedroom. Couldn't. This had to do with Title IV.
So this is the right before Chris was shot, correct? She's telling.
Yeah, before Chris was shot.
She's telling us what exactly happened in the hours right before Chris was shot.
What it is she did this trip to get coffee and stuff, so they were making coffee and stuff because Chris wanted coffee with cream and so on, and they had run out of creamer. And so she bought these supply. That was the reason for her going to Publix. And so she came back. She got confused, missed the exit. She was hearing all these sounds in her head, and that's
Allegedly.
paranoia as far as I'm concerned.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And she came back and was on. She saw a website of a sheriff, and it had it had the star and everything, and it didn't look right to Neely. She clicked on the website, thought it was fake, had pictures of abused kids. Neely asked Chris something, clicked, heard voice, picked up gun, and shot Chris. I can't believe you shot me, Chris said as he was falling. And then she shot him again in the head. Said 5 shots. Heard shots, could not hear Neely. Could not hear Neely crying at this point. And after shooting Chris Halleck, she got a car, met her husband in Lowndes, and for some reason she left out that she had called her mother from the house. That had been done earlier. This is something that in her monologue she did. Missed exit, had to turn around. Robert got ride from shipmate from the base. Robert hated E-Claws.
Smart guy. Smart guy.
Yeah, Robert hated E-Claws. He hated all this.
He should have convinced her wife to stay. He should have convinced his wife to stay away. Maybe Chris would be alive.
Yeah, that's true. But he's kind of a flake. If here's the guy getting arrested and having handcuffs on, and he wasn't exactly upset, so I think he knew it was coming.
Didn't you, earlier today you told me that she had heard all of these noises from the computer and said that she was commanded, like something in her commanded
she did
her.
that too. Yeah, she did that too. My notes are all screwed up. Like she had said that she was hearing all these noises. This is where she mentioned the Havana syndrome, but this thing clicked in her head at that point, and she saw this website, and she didn't say why, but she just picked up the gun and started shooting. And that's why Chris said, "Why are you shooting me? Why did you shoot me?" And
where was the gun? Laying on the table? Where was this gun?
This was done. It's a small kitchen area. There's a refrigerator. It's facing the Chris in the kitchen area. If you remember the photographs, the refrigerator's on the left, and the coffee maker is right next to the refrigerator. And it's a little into that. And apparently, the first time she shot him, he turned around and he leaned on the counter and he was starting to fall. And she walked up to him at close range, aimed the gun at him, and fired again.
What a maniac. Fuck.
And the state said 7 times. She claims it was only 5. But
well, we saw 7 bullets, and they have bullets. So no, but where was the gun? I mean, where was the gun? In her back pocket? And
she took the gun. The gun apparently was under a couch cushion or something.
So
yes.
Under the couch cushion.
Yeah, she apparently bought the gun in the house. She never said how the gun got in the house.
So if you're bringing a gun in the house, you're hiding it under a couch cushion.
And then she picked it up.
Does anyone want to say, check off the box premeditation again? Yeah. She walked in with a gun to shoot him. Hid the gun.
There's another story, the gun was in her hand. But I think the gun was in her hand when Shannon and her child saw her. She had already shot Chris at that point.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how the gun gets from Robert buying it and them owning it as a family, or Robert having it, gets to Neely, goes with her
That's
on
not
her.
what they found. Nobody has explained how the gun got out of Robert's possession into her possession, and then from the car into the house.
Well, it really sounds like if it's going into the house from the car and it's under a couch cushion right there where she was standing, that sounds a lot like premeditation. I'm surprised the state wasn't all over that to explore that.
She was in the house for a while, and she said, once she saw that weird website, something clicked. She picked up the gun, went up, and started shooting at Chris. And as he started to fall down, he went over and finished him off, basically.
It was probably some link from those guys over there in Telegram with the fake judge and the
something got her to where
Pud puller.
But
because they love that. They love those links with all the abused children. That gets them off. Those guys over there, and it's probably them sending it to Chris.
But remember, she had said to her mother that she had prayed about doing this for 6 months.
That's right.
Her stories don't jive.
That's right. And she had already told her sister. Her sister testified that she had said that Chris had been lying to her. So, and then here comes a gun hidden under Robert's gun, hidden under the seat cushion or the couch cushion. Sounds a lot like premeditation.
Yeah. He mentioned the Havana syndrome, and I think we know where that came from.
We know where that came from. That came from what the state attorney calls some Canadian woman and a lady that likes a real estate agent who thinks that her notary stamp is God's gift to the world. And unfortunately, they've been going on and on about this Havana syndrome. And what is interesting is it's been in the news lately, this Havana syndrome. And the only time you'll see them talk about anything, their ideas over there, is if something ended up in mainstream media. So if there's any topic in mainstream media, those guys over there, that's what they're talking about. That's what their stories are about. That's what their articles about. They don't have a genuine or unique bone in their body. All they do is sit around and plagiarize everybody else's ideas and just follow the leader. I thought they didn't like mainstream news, but it's just a coincidence that every single topic in mainstream, one of the top 10 topics in mainstream news is always what they talk about over there. And that's exactly what they've been feeding Neely Blanchard. It's exactly what they've been feeding her in the last 2 weeks. Why? Havana syndrome was in the news in the last 2 weeks.
So anyway, they're in the car, they're on their way.
It's so wrong. It's so wrong in so many ways, those people over there.
Now, the only thing that I can figure out as far as Robert, he must have gotten a ride to Ocala and not to Georgia.
Well, you told me that earlier today that he had a buddy drive him from Kentucky all the way down.
To meet Kelly.
But I don't believe you could drive all the way to Ocala or from Kentucky to Ocala within a matter of hours, could you?
Pensacola.
All right, so Pensacola, could you make it from Kentucky?
It's based in Pensacola, and that would have been shipmate from Pensacola. Met her somewhere in Florida. They stopped at the state line between Georgia and Florida to get. He had to go to the bathroom. She was paranoid, being in the rest area. They started up the road, met the exit that she wanted to go to, had to turn around. And when they got off at Lake City, Georgia, that's when she saw the cop sitting on the side of the road. And by the time she got down to Circle K, parked in the parking lot, the husband went in to get supplies, and that's when the deputy came up and ordered her out of the car. And then the husband came out of the store, and he was ordered to approach. He was asked questions, and he said, yes, there's a gun in the car.
By the way, I just did a Google search to make it from Kentucky to Pensacola, 9 hours and 50 minutes if you didn't stop. So
she didn't go.
No, he had to drive from, if he was in, you told me
Yes,
that he was in
drove.
Kentucky, had a buddy drive him. That doesn't make sense because it wasn't 9 hours.
There's a misunderstanding there.
Okay.
He drove from Ocala. Remember, she was talking to Kathy Knoll, or Kathy Watson,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
on the phone. There's somewhere on her way from Ocala to Georgia, she met her husband. They continued north on I-75, stopped at the rest area at the state line, take a rest rate, were on their way north of 75, missed the exit, turned around and came back. Now, in that part of Georgia, there's like 4 exits that are a mile apart from each other. The Circle K is at exit number 2, Lake Park, Georgia. So they went up, turned around, and came back, and went to, for some reason, she wanted to go to Circle K. And so when they got off the exit to go to the Circle K, she was spotted by the sheriff's deputy from Lowndes County. By the time she got down to the gas station, that's where they were detained.
Okay.
And he told Neely, "You're not under arrest, you're detained." And she got into a discussion about cops being involved and without, being detained without a warrant. And
So you told me today that Robert was in Kentucky. I think that he was actually in Pensacola, is what you
that
meant,
was
right?
my mistake.
Okay.
Because when I heard her, that's on me.
Oh, that's
When I
okay.
heard
That's okay. I just
her
wanted to make
first
sure
one-
my mind was not mixed up.
No, that's me, my fault.
It's okay.
Because when she testified near the end there, it came out that I keep doing that. Her husband was at the Pensacola Coast Guard station. Buddy drove him down someplace between Ocala and the Florida state line, dropped him off,
Okay.
they continued down up to I-75, stopped at the rest area, and then on to the gas station.
And so what did she call her husband and say, "Honey, I just shot a man," and he was like, "Okay, let's
I
go
don't
on
know how
vacation
that
to
came about.
Georgia"?
She never said how she contacted her husband. She just said that, the shipmate brought him to wherever they ran.
And that guy during the arrest tape with the body cam, Robert was like so relaxed. Let me have a cigarette. I mean, he was.
Yeah, they gave him a cigarette. Said, "Can I sit down?"
But I was just, he was just so relaxed and like, my wife just shot a man, and here I am. It was just weird. It was weird.
Yeah, and they sat there talking. She was leaning against the window, and he was talking to her. It looked like they were trying to hug each other with handcuffs on, but they were both smoking cigarettes.
They acted more like brother and sister, I thought. It wasn't.
I don't know, it was weird because she said, "Remember Miranda? Remember your rights. You have the right to remain silent." And the deputy said, "Yes, you do," and blah blah blah.
But there was another phone call. I believe you had gotten it, that he was at home and he was talking to her in the jail. And I remember that phone call, and it was less like a husband and wife. It wasn't almost like there was a romantic relationship there. It was almost like a marriage of.
They kept saying, I love you and all this. Because it was kind of mushy. It's on my website.
Yeah, but I thought it was more like, brother and sister-ish.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
And taken to the Lowndes County Jail on a warrant objection. Neely crying, returned to Marion County, put on suicide watch, objection, hearsay about something, was told something. I'm getting far down here, folks. He was crying, using tissue. There was an objection to saying, "I did not know what to do. I want you guys to hear all evidence to make your decision. Thanks for listening."
Thanks for listening.
Objected, said, "This is not closing." Prosecution crossed, and this is where things got hot. Chris Hallett got him in a fit of rage. Lots of things. We had that I heard, ... Neely calms down by the time she arrived. And Lowndes, this is the prosecutor kind of narrating, told Wright's to husband had gun in box, same gun that killed Helen, does not like court system. Upset by ex parte on May 25th. Other party told Neely, and Neely agreed right to sue. They were following proper procedure. This is the state. Yes, but they, and then Neely goes, yes, but they lied. Neely argues with Hunt, tries to explain procedure. Judge cuts her off. On an unfounded accusation against sister, going through folders, made other false accusations.
The political kitty just left the best comment. Where we go one, we go all. ... to prison. I love that. Awesome comment. Go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
The prosecution, because she kept denying that she was QAnon, he showed her a picture, and it was her in a crowd of people, and this is published on another website.
Yeah.
Where Neely took the QAnon oath. And I can't remember, Neely kind of made some snippy answer about that, like she didn't know it, but she was there but didn't know what was going on or something, following along.
She did a lot of the Q hashtags. It's on her social media.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Neely argues witch hunt, tries to explain procedure, judge cuts her off, unfounded accusation of sister, going through folders, made other false accusations in 2013. This was the state attorney kind of telling her these things, and then she would respond. She just claimed she could bring in thousands of women with this problem. And
what were the state attorney's major points on their cross-examination of her?
His major point is premeditation. That she thought all this stuff out.
Yep.
Wasn't upset or shocked that she had just killed a man.
Mm-hmm.
That she was being matter of fact, going about her business like nothing happened. Very distant, but at the same time, very precise. Had the wherewithal to tell her husband about constitutional rights, not to say anything. She was very concerned about the documents in her car. Wanted to know who was towing the car. Tried to ask the name of the towing driver, and objection, not relevant. Wanted to know if the car was going to be locked again. If you go back and listen to the recording that's in there, all these things that she was doing. Yeah. And through this whole episode, and she was interviewed by law enforcement in Georgia, and this is where she got into this business about being coerced and all that stuff. John, she was at some points calm, and other points she got upset, started crying, and then she also at one point got very belligerent with the prosecution.
How so? How did she get belligerent with the prosecution?
The prosecution brought up a piece of paper, and this was I believe, a final order from the state from Carolina, and he said they followed procedure. It was true. The prosecutor basically told her that, this was proper, this was true. He lunged forward, both hands on, and says, "This is a lie," or something to that effect. She got real angry. Huge scowl on her face. The court just leaning its shot. The jury jumped. The judge jumped.
What did she say? What did she say?
She said, "It's a lie. It's not true." Like that. And this had to do with this document from the Carolinas and the reason, the final order, as they call it.
Yeah.
And he said that's a forged document. It's not true.
Ugh, a forged document.
The judge ruled on that. It's true.
They had a certified copy.
Yeah, certified copy, signed by a judge. And she just went ballistic.
After a 5-day trial.
After a 5-day trial. And then she switched off. And she considered the order incorrect, not true, non-signed custody, did not tell Lowndes about delusions, did not ask for any kind of medical attention, asked by judge if she wants to testify further. Neely steps down, recess for day, jury dismissed, wants to call Watson back, found out that Watson's in court, so the prosecution said, the prosecutor looked directly at Kathy Watson and said, "She's in court, Your Honor." And the judge said, "Well, that's not going to happen."
Yeah, she's not going to testify again. She's sitting in court.
Said Kathy cannot testify because she's in court. We'll see if we can get Demery, and Demery will testify in the morning, and we'll see if we can get a hold of Joel Knowles in the morning. And the judge said, "We'll come in bright and early, see, get a game plan. This is what you plan on doing tomorrow, so we can wrap this up."
Well, if she brings in her expert, then the state will have an opportunity to bring in their experts on a redirect. Exactly. Yeah, so for impeachment.
I don't know what's going to happen once that.
Yeah, so if we do have a battle of the experts, most likely the jury would not start deliberating. I mean, I can't imagine, I don't know how many experts but I believe it was a lot,
Well, the expert that they've had so far had to do with forensics.
Yeah.
Blood spatter, types of blood spatter, all that kind of stuff.
But they had an expert who was going to be testifying, was a PhD, and studied extremists, and with a concentration on QAnon and sovereign citizens. And he's going to, from University of Miami.
That's the Demery. That's what the state does. He's also an expert in this insanity play.
No, but this is a different guy. This is a guy that's going to specifically say that just because you believe in QAnon and sovereign citizen theories, that does, yeah, okay.
Same guy.
All right.
He evaluated Neely precisely because of that. Because he's this expert on QAnon and all that. Because that's why, they've been complaining about that over on the other board, that he is an expert on QAnon, so they're saying he's biased against QAnon, he's a plant and all this, and that's basically it.
Got it.
So but anyway, in the morning, everybody's coming back into court. Neely's going to have to decide what she's going to do because the judge wants this to end. And because I think she wants to get the case done, the arguments done, the jury to deliberate, and hopefully get this done so they don't have to spend the weekend and, having to keep their mouth shut about the case. Because right now, even though they get to go home, they're restricted on what to do. They can't talk.
So basically what you're saying is tomorrow we're going to hear from Neely who else she intends to call in her case in chief. if it is
Correct.
one of her experts, that Dr. Crop guy, then likely the state would, of course, call one of their experts to impeach him. So that's where
Yeah.
we're at.
That's where we're at.
Did she say she might call anyone else? She was going to call Kathy Watson, but Kathy Watson
No, I
was
think
sitting
she's
in the
done- I
courtroom,
don't
so
think
she had
she's
already
gonna call
heard
anybody
everything.
else.
So she can't.
I think the psychiatrist is it.
Okay.
Because there's nobody to call.
Well, then they could start deliberating. If it's only 2 witnesses, they could definitely start deliberating.
Yeah.
You know? Does anyone know, and Dawn, I'm asking you if you're still here, although I could theorize, why Shannon was taken off the witness list? I have my theory. Number one, it's an extremely strong case. They don't need her. And I don't know, she might have gotten in the weeds because she's a sovereign citizen guru. That she might
I
not
don't
have.
know. Somebody, Don's been talking to her, so she could always ask.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't need her. They didn't need
I
her.
didn't approach or talk to her at all because I didn't
Yeah.
want to bother her. So
Mhm. Yeah.
that would be up to Don.
Yeah. I'm just curious if anybody knows. Hang on.
Because nobody has talked to her. There's a woman that is, I believe, a victim's advocate or something that's been working with
Yes.
her since this whole thing. They're constantly together.
Yes. And that she was also with Liliana. When Liliana testified, there was obviously a victim's advocate in the courtroom and then left as soon as Liliana left.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was basically
And
it.
Dawn is saying that she doesn't know, nothing has ever been mentioned as to why she was removed. So there might be someone in the chat with inside scoop or something. I was just curious. I have, my theories, but we don't know.
Twinkle Toes, she was taken off very early in the process. When the state was issuing their witness list, they say one witness has been removed, and they didn't say who. And Shannon's name was not on the list that was brought up in court on the first day.
And I would have to think that the jury is going to say, where's her husband? Why isn't her husband here testifying for her? A lot of times juries will, not only the people that testify, but will note the people that aren't testifying that they would have expected to hear from.
I don't know if it came out in testimony, but it's basically because she was dating Chris Allen. She was a divorced mother or a single mother. Either one.
No, I meant...
There is no husband.
No, I meant, where's Neely's husband? The jury may ask themselves... Yeah. That juries often note who's not testifying, what evidence isn't put forth. And juries that are, given these exit poll type of things will often say that.
Mm-hmm.
That matters to them.
There's the common rule that a husband cannot testify against his wife. So maybe
they can if they volunteer it. It's just a privilege.
Oh, that's true. He can't be coerced through is what I meant to say. But, I don't know. Maybe he's deployed again because they go out for 30 days. No, he could be out on the high seas again.
Not a good excuse.
They do a rotation where they go for 30 days, they stay for 30 days, and they go for another 30 days.
And if there's a subpoena, I would assume, but she didn't subpoena him, but maybe you're right.
She didn't subpoena. She really didn't subpoena anybody. He just said, I want to call this person, and the judge says, okay, you're up to.
Yep.
Because there was no subpoena for Kathy Watson. She just showed up.
Well, it was voluntarily because Kathy Watson had become aligned with the Telegram freaks recently.
Mm-hmm.
And they concocted this Havana syndrome theory.
Yeah.
And they also concocted a conspiracy theory that Shannon had somehow gotten into Chris's computers or knew how to do something where it was not really Neely making that confession call, that it was someone else. They also concocted the theory that the FBI killed Chris. This is all in the last week, by the way. But clearly, Neely just confessed on the stand, I shot Chris. She confessed. So that theory was wrong out the window. And I just wonder, why don't their followers just notice they're always wrong? like 100% of the time. If someone I believed in was wrong 100% of the time, never correct, I wouldn't believe in them anymore.
Yeah,
But
because they got on and they said today they said that FBI operative Whitey Bulger in court to intimidate Neely.
yeah, that's why you're
That's
there.
who that is. So
I'm sure. No.
Everyone knows that there's like 7 articles in here. Scroll
Yeah.
on down. There's Whitey Bulger staring everyone in the face.
That's so
Yeah,
funny. It's cute.
They just for
They're so
whatever reason,
ridiculous
they latched onto that
They're
weirdness.
so ridiculous that it's almost like pitiful. They're like little kids making up stories about ghosts and goblins. Stupid.
Yeah, and this was, QAnon was started as a joke. Basically it's a joke on people because people believe anything. It was like a little video game these people are playing from this foreign cartoon website where they used to like anime porn, and then they started doing these going after people and just for the hell of it, or the lulz as they call it, which is an acronym for laughs. So, and that's why I wanted to watch that Netflix thing because it goes into great detail about that.
Yeah.
And it's new stuff that I had never seen before.
So court starts at 8:30 sharp?
8:30 and possibly a little earlier. I'm going to be there early like I always am just in case they open up early.
Yep.
Because the bailiff is very good about letting me know when things are ready to go so I can go in. And so that's what we have to go by tomorrow is just go there, go in as usual and see what the heck's going on. And see if they're going to wrap this up tomorrow.
Does anyone have any questions for Mert or for me? It's 11:18 p.m. So it's past everybody's bedtime. We need to do the whole night-night John Boy, good night Mary Ellen.
Criminalized. What makes Chris a sovereign is the philosophy that they have that the government is corrupt, that they don't have to pay taxes, they don't need a driver's license to drive. That's what they call a right of travel. There's a whole slew of things that people believe in that gets categorized as a sovereign citizen. And they just don't believe in our form of representative.
But they will never call themselves a sovereign citizen because they say that it's an oxymoron. They say that you can't be a sovereign and a citizen. You're either one.
That's why Neely tried to get that in court and it was objected to.
Yeah.
So that she kept trying to, I trust the plan. I trust the plan to stay away from conspiracy theories.
That's right.
Not get wrapped up in that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stay in the deep state. I like deep water, I guess.
It's so funny that this criminalized for being family doesn't know anything about Chris, is asking what this case is about, but then she comes off and said that Chris had a license and had registered plates and vehicles. But for the longest time, she's been saying, what is a sovereign citizen and what was this all about? I wonder how she knew how Chris had a license and registered plates.
Criminalized, what happens here is...
Who are you?
In this spectrum, there are many different variants of the sovereign citizen movement. It's a broad definition and it's overused because there's different things that people believe in this spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But the core belief is that government is corrupt and they're trying to take children, traffic children, make diamonds out of children, eat children, have ceremonies and stuff. It's a wide variation and it's targeted solely at the Democrats. And it's just, it's just a label that either they put on them or people who try to figure out who these people are put on them. But, aside from the definition, these people believe in a certain set of things. And Chris Hallett believed in something known as Black's Law. And this is kind of like the Bible of people that to find themselves with sodomy. So if you were ever to read Black's Law, you would understand where Chris is coming from.
It's just a dictionary. It's a dictionary.
Yeah. So if they want to read a dictionary,
It's a dictionary. That's all it is. Doesn't contain laws.
no, that's what Chris Allen always called it, Black's Law.
It's Black's Law Dictionary.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So, I never paid attention to his B clause and what he was doing, so I really don't know a hell of a lot about it.
Well, we had to for a long time when we were doing, some things regarding Phil McConnell, regarding other things. We had we were consulting and assisting the FBI in some matters, my staff and I, and so we had to monitor that a great deal. So knew a lot about them.
Chris Howard, we got into trouble for not paying child support.
Yes.
He did not feel that he was, he had to pay child support. He was against that, and he actually got arrested for it at one point. And, so that's part of it. I mean, you may not like the fact that you got to register your car and drive around, but in the state of Florida, in Ocala, Florida, if you go running around with no license plates and no registration, no insurance, you'll be in jail for multiple felonies. They're really big on insurance in this state, so don't get caught driving without insurance counted. People don't, it's like seatbelts. We may not like wearing seatbelts, but we better wear them or it's the $350 fine if you get caught.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay the fine, you go to jail.
Yep.
So, there's laws that I personally don't like that I have to follow, or I go to jail. It's like one of the reasons I can't drive a truck anymore is because I can't pass a DOT physical and get a medical card. If I start driving down the road without a medical card or a CDL, it's $1,000 fine, 10 years in jail. No more driving truck.
True.
The laws were made. The Constitution gives the rights of for interstate commerce to have their separate laws and so forth. And we're stuck with that. If you want to become a politician and do things by the rules, change the law.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, they want to do it by force. But I really didn't intend to get that political on this channel to try to stay away from this stuff. Because I'm not, I don't care. All I care is that some idiots running around calling me a pedophile and saying that I'm whitey vulgar and all this other stuff, and it's damaged me financially. I lost a $3.5 million a year business over this crap, and I'm not happy. But there's something I can do about it. Because you can't sue a guy that lives in a car. There's nothing to sue for. He's constantly out there begging for money for his car, food, and expenses, so he doesn't have any money to give out. So I'm stuck. And thousands of people are in the same boat because of these people.
Yeah.
They ruin people's reputation and they simply don't care. And now, because of their beliefs, Neely Blanchard is in her situation. Cynthia Adsug is in her situation because of these people. And there's many others who have suffered when they get sucked up in these various fringe movements. And, it's difficult to do anything about it except just warn people not to get involved. So, but that's one of the reasons I'm covering this trial. And number one, because it's a local case and an unusual case. And number two, because I've been affected by the same people that affected Neely Blanchard.
There's a comment from Linda K. And if you're my friend, Linda, hi. Didn't know you were in here. If you are, you would know who you are. Are you going to be there tomorrow, Ken? No. I had to go home. I have a full day of depots tomorrow in one of my own cases, and I was in hearings today. So I'm unable to go back. I spent Monday through Wednesday. There was really good time, and I enjoyed listening to all the testimony and taking notes and being there. I was very interested in that trial. So, because I had so much background experience with the E-Claws folks, and I know so much about them. So I wanted to, when Chris was shot, I was absolutely shocked and stunned. So I just knew everything about him.
Yeah, well, I guess we're at the end of things here. Excuse me. Thanks everybody for coming in. Please like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification button. And stay tuned. Tomorrow I will be tweeting again, and I may do updates throughout the day, and we'll be back here again at 9 o'clock for the update on this trial.
Mert, you did a good job taking those notes. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Well, you saved my bacon all week by being here.
It's all right, but now it's up to you, and you're holding your own, bud.
Well, I'm trying. I gotta do a better job of taking notes.
I know it goes fast, but you did a great job. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thanks for giving me the honor of being here all week. And just have fun with the sun down there in the southeast part of the state, and
always
being Perry Mason and all that.
You got it.
All right. Good night, Tim. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Mert, you're gonna have to turn off this thing because I can't. Otherwise, they can be in here forever. And if you guys want to chat, I'm sure Mert will let you chat. Okay. But as for me, I've got to turn off Mert because I've got to go to bed. So I'm going to turn off my camera, my mic, and then Mert's going to go. So I wish everyone good night. Thank you very much for listening to Mert's show. Please press the like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I loved all of the comments. I read them all, and I think Mert did too. So thank you very much, and please tune in tomorrow night for Mert's next version and maybe the finale of the Neely Blanchard trial. State of Florida versus Neely Blanchard. Have a good night.